Hey everyone, welcome back to another driving review video here on the channel. Today you join me in the refreshed 2025 Ford Explorer ST, or the most powerful Ford Explorer one can purchase. And as usual, I want to start this off with my acceleration test, put the vehicle in sport mode and full throttle. Oh, this thing moves. So under the hood, you're gonna find the 3-liter Ecoboost twin turbocharged V6 engine paired to a 10-speed torque converted automatic transmission, either through the rear wheels only or all 4 wheels, as this one is equipped with all-wheel drive, putting out 400 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque. Now, that was a little bit of a rolling acceleration. Normally I do it from more of a slow speed or a stop, but this thing will absolutely get up and go without issue, and that is certainly one of the key attributes that makes the Explorer ST or the Platinum with the 3-liter twin-turbo V6 certainly something special versus some of the other competitors currently offered on the market, especially in the more mainstream SUV 3-row class such as this one. Now, we will go ahead and touch on a little bit of the driving dynamics later in this video, but starting out with the visibility inside of the Explorer, it's actually quite good, even though this vehicle has a little bit of a larger hood, not only to accommodate the engine and powertrain, but also just because it is a rear-wheel drive based platform. So I have the seat in its lowest position, and I can see just a little bit of the hood in front of me. Side mirrors are an actual usable good size, so I appreciate Ford for offering that. They aren't too narrow or too small. So rearward visibility out the side mirrors is very good. You do have blind spot detection, of course, as standard. Looking over your shoulder, you do have a pretty chunky B-pillar here, so depending on where the driver or front seat is positioned, that may get in the way a little bit, but blind spot detection does help that. And then out the rear, you do have a pretty sizable rear hatch glass, and with the third row headrest folded down, it actually allows for great rearward visibility, but with those third row headrests upright, it does kind of block a good chunk of the actual glass itself. And then over your shoulder, you do have that glass in the cargo area, which helps with kind of your blind spot over there, but overall visibility inside the Explorer, despite the size and things like that, is pretty good as a whole. Now I'll go ahead and put the vehicle back into its normal driving mode. But the Explorer ST is actually a vehicle, like I mentioned in some of my other videos, that I haven't spent any time behind the wheel of. And it's always one that has kind of piqued my interest because it is, a 3-row SUV at the end of the day that offers significant performance. And that's like 40% throttle, and man, it just goes. And it actually sounds quite good doing it. Now, the downfall of that is, I guess before we get into the downfall, is I was able to actually spend a little bit more time behind the wheel and put more miles on this vehicle than I typically do with some of the other vehicles over my week. So I took a trip from here in the Quad Cities up to the Woodstock, Illinois area and back. I have just under 400 total accumulated miles on it as of me filming this video. So I got to test out BlueCruise and, spend time out on the interstate in terms of, comfort, things like that. And there's definitely a lot to like about the Explorer. Now, this one being the ST does have some tweaks to make it a little bit more sporty and dynamic feeling, maybe versus some of the other Explorers that are currently offered in their trim lineup. But in terms of the downfall, I guess, of the 3-liter twin-turbo V6, that is certainly going to be fuel economy. Now, all-wheel drive equipped Explorer STs are rated at 18 city, 25 out on the highway, and I believe 22 or 23 mpg combined. And there's another Explorer ST in red. I was only able to see at 77 to 78 miles an hour over that trip 20.6 mpg. Now, that was a little bit disappointing because obviously it's a there and back situation, slightly different routes either direction, but nonetheless it should even out fairly well. And that is a sizable deficit from that of what the actual Explorer is rated at. Yes, I know this is at higher speeds, which does impact fuel economy, but I was still expecting to see maybe 22, 23 at those given speeds. Given we're just cruising, at a steady speed, And actually in my town city type of driving, I really haven't been able to get much more than about 16, 17 mpg. My overall cumulative average for that trip and my in-town driving is sitting right at 19 mpg. So I think overall fuel economy has been below that of the rated window sticker or the EPA rating on this vehicle. So that is certainly something to keep in mind. But as the old saying goes, it's either eco or boost, not both. Now here we are coming up to my bumpy section of road. But to touch on ride quality and things like that, it is quite firm in this vehicle, although it's not so firm that it is harsh by any means or uncomfortable to the average person. But I will say it might borderline, depending on which seat you are sitting in the first, second, or third rows, given the second and third rows are a little bit more on the firmer side in the seats versus out of the front. Now here we are going over this section of road, and it's pretty well controlled, well damped, no issues there. It's just you do feel the body moving around a little bit. This vehicle does have 21-inch alloy wheels as standard with 45 series tires, so not the smallest sidewall out there, but certainly a little bit smaller than some other SUVs on the market. But I would say, like I said, it's not harsh by any means, well damped, well controlled. It's just, you do notice it a little more, and it's not geared necessarily towards luxury, like maybe a Platinum Explorer would be, or some of the competitors to this vehicle. So I think it is a good blend of performance and comfort all in one package within reason. Now I say within reason because over that, several 100-mile road trip I was able to take the Explorer on, I got to test out the massaging, active contour front seats. Awesome feature. Not sure how much I would actually use it, but I like how you can activate it with simply a press of a button here on the actual side of the seat and the lumbar adjustments itself. But I think the seat comfort with the suede Alcantara material, perforations in the middle, and the leather accents on the outside of the seat, they're fine. They're not the most comfortable seats I've been in by far. I would say they're probably near average in terms of comfort. I do like the fact that you can actually retract and adjust the headrest and kind of tilt it forward and back, because that's something that often I run into with comfort inside of vehicles. So I appreciate Ford for offering that extra adjustability in addition to the massaging, because that's not something at the end of the day you're going to find on many $60,000 SUVs just like this one. But I think the biggest issue I had with the seats themselves is, even with the heated seat off and all of that off, the seats did tend to warm up a little bit over time. So I actually had to kick on the ventilated seat despite it being 40 degrees outside, just to cool it down very briefly, and then shut that feature off and then repeat that process every like 30-40 minutes, something like that. So that was something I did notice, but outside of that, really not a big deal. And the seat comfort here in the first row is pretty good. Now, once you get to the second row, and especially the third row seats, the second row for some reason is substantially stiffer than that of the first row. And not that anybody who's riding along with me complained about it. I just noticed sitting back there for a minute or two myself is how that might be a little bit uncomfortable maybe on those longer distance road trips. And then, of course, once you get to the third row, legroom and overall space starts to become a slight issue. Not that most people are going to be using the third row for taking cross-country road trips or anything. Might be okay for smaller children back there. Certainly usable nonetheless in a pinch. But seat comfort in the third row, not ideal, not the worst in this segment either. Now, in terms of some of the other interior amenities, specifically for the Explorer and this refresh, I like what they did and what they changed. Now, as I mentioned, I haven't really spent that much time with previous model year Explorers, but I know they had vertical infotainment screens if you got the larger of the two screen sizes available. And now it is a horizontal screen, and I prefer that much more than that of vertical orientation screens. That means they also got to redesign the center AC vents, the center console area, the overall layout of everything, and including this wireless charger here in a very ergonomic, well-positioned area. I really do appreciate Ford for designing and thinking it through, because on the face of it, it's just really well laid out. and I enjoyed putting my phone there, using the wireless charger basically every time I got inside the vehicle. The volume knob is right in a great spot. There's really no buttons or knobs that I'm missing per se that I would like to see here. You have all of your memory seat, window controls, and an easy-to-use fashion on the door panel. I maybe would like to see dedicated HVAC or climate controls as buttons and knobs versus always on the bottom of the screen, because the touch points are actually fairly small. They're not like some other manufacturers that have made very large HVAC touch points. So that is a minor complaint I have, especially, depending on what speed, how you're driving, and, if you're the only one inside the vehicle and the only one controlling that, it can be a little bit hard to adjust and actually get on the first press what you're trying to accomplish. But it is better than having it buried in menus, always up on the screen. So handling, yeah, the Explorer ST has not disappointed me whatsoever in terms of how this vehicle handles. Oh, merging onto the interstate is not an issue whatsoever. So we'll go ahead and activate the BlueCruise that is equipped on this vehicle, although it does not come standard. And that does come with hands-free driving as indicated on the dashboard. Now, right now it actually says we are not in a hands-free driving zone, so it says to keep your hands on the wheel, but that should activate here any minute, given we are on, there it goes, an applicable roadway. And BlueCruise is one of the items I did want to mention and focus on here in this video because of its performance and I guess my overall experience with it thus far. So you can see we're following the semi here. Hands-free mode is enabled, clearly indicated on the digital dashboard, which I really do appreciate. The digital dashboard is actually really well laid out inside most Ford products. You can change the distance between you and the vehicle in front of you. But one of the things you might notice here is I have the cruise set at 75 miles an hour. We're following this truck and it is not automatically changing lanes to pass the vehicle because that feature is actually not out on any Ford BlueCruise equipped vehicle as of me filming this video. Now, Ford has published that feature is coming with BlueCruise 1.5 that will be first rolled out and debuted on the 2025 Ford Mustang Mach-E. But as of me in this 2025 Explorer, that is simply not an available feature. You have to automate the lane change via the turn signal stalk if you want to pass cars, because this vehicle launched with BlueCruise 1.2. I'm not sure if this vehicle has been over-the-air software updated to a newer version of BlueCruise, but that of course is what I have actually seen this vehicle is equipped with. So using that over a period of a couple hundred miles, I have to say, given my experience with GM's Super Cruise with the automatic lane changes, it kind of felt like more involved than you honestly wanted it to be, given it is a hands-free driving system. Now, I know automatically or initiating a lane change with the turn signal stalk isn't a big deal. It's like a first world problem. But when a vehicle is advertised with hands-free driving on, certain roadways, it's kind of a feature that I expect, like I said, especially after experiencing it in GM's Super Cruise. And I was disappointed to learn that this vehicle does not have it, at least yet. Now, it might come in a future software update with BlueCruise 1.5, so my opinion might totally change on it, but me, as of using it now, I am a little bit disappointed in that regard. Now, in terms of its performance, the eye tracking, the lane centering, the lane changes initiated with the turn signal, it's pretty good. I don't have any complaints with how it was, in the lane, following the lane markings, anything like that. I was disappointed with the lane changes in the fact that once you initiated a lane change with the turn signal stalk did not, or the turn signal did not stay on until completing the lane change like it does in Super Cruise. So you could turn the turn signal down for a couple clicks. It would start the lane change and then the turn signal would turn off, like it's kind of flash to pass or the one-touch turn signal mode instead of staying on. So that's kind of a weird thing. It should just automatically electronically stay on until it completes the lane change. Probably something that can be updated with software, I would assume. but the lane change was reasonably quick. It got in the lane. I did have several instances though where for some reason it couldn't read either the lane markings well enough on the roadway. It was dry. It wasn't super dark outside, although some of the trip was at nighttime. And it just didn't do the lane change on the first try. It took me 2 or 3 attempts at a lane change to finally get the system to actually automatically change the lanes for me, which was a little bit frustrating. Again, not only the fact that you have to initiate it yourself, but also the fact that it wouldn't actually go on the first try, reliably anyway, was a little bit unfortunate. Now, touching on the cost of BlueCruise, also, it's a little bit interesting how Ford and GM do it differently. So Ford's BlueCruise, essentially the hardware comes equipped on certain trim levels of their vehicle, typically not the base trim, but middle trims and up will be equipped with BlueCruise hardware, but you have to pay for either a one-time purchase at the dealership at the time of purchase. You have the option of a monthly subscription or an annual subscription. The monthly cost is $49.99 per month. The annual is $495, so $495, or the one-time purchase is $24.95 or $2,495. And doing the math on that is you have to do, basically if you do the one time, that's 5 years of the annual subscription, easy math there. But doing the monthly divided out by the one-time purchase, that's like 50 months. And overall, I guess I don't see the benefit of buying it one time up front or even on an annual basis, given the cost savings is not all that great. Now, given the type of driving I do regularly, I would not be able to use BlueCruise daily by any means, just because of the type of driving I do, like I said, on the types of roadways. Now, with that said, if it's easy enough to activate on a monthly basis, like within the app or vehicle itself, I could see myself, activating it for a month for a road trip that you're taking, anything like that, given its hardware is already built into the vehicle. And as long as Ford makes that process easy, I think that is definitely the way to go in terms of using BlueCruise, is simply using it on an on-demand basis per month rather than buying it up front or buying it annual. Now, of course, if you use it daily for your work or whatnot, you will want to buy the annual or one-time purchase. But I think for the average person out there, it just depends on how much you're actually going to use it inside of your vehicle. Now, when we compare that to GM's actual cost of their hardware and software, Super Cruise is fairly expensive of an option to upgrade most on their vehicles. Now, some vehicles, such as their EVs, Hummer, things like that, come standard with it. But on, say, a Chevy Traverse, for example, it can be upwards of a $4,500 upcharge over that of a standard equipment package. Now, that does come with 3 years of service for Super Cruise, but that's a lot of money depending on how much you're actually using the feature. And I think that's where Ford has the right idea of including the hardware on their vehicle, charging you a monthly, annual, or one-time purchase in addition to the hardware, and letting you choose, versus GM's, thousands of dollars that you have to pay for the hardware and a 3-year trial. And then after that 3-year trial, paying $25 to use Super Cruise. I just think Ford has that better. But on the same side of things, I think GM Super Cruise might work and perform a little bit better. But overall, still a very cool system. I'll just go ahead and I guess leave it at that as far as BlueCruise and the hands-free driving. But overall, I think the Explorer ST and the package that it has to offer is fairly unique and fairly compelling out there on the market. I'm not someone that's in the market for a 3-row midsize SUV like this one, but if I had to buy one that was fun, sporty, something I want to drive every day, didn't care about gas mileage, this would probably be somewhere on the top couple that I would be considering, just due to its performance, its handling, the feature set it has to offer for roughly $60,000. And your choice of trim levels, either the Platinum or the ST, with these power figures underneath the hood. So That is something I really did like about this vehicle. There are a couple things that Ford does, or some of the buttons and controls inside their vehicles that I don't love. I don't love the rotary gear shift dial for the 10-speed automatic, despite it, saving space on the center console. I don't love the stalks for the headlights and the rear wiper here on the driver's side. I think that's chintzy. It feels cheap. That's just always kind of been a Ford thing over the last couple generations of vehicles. The window switchgear is upgraded. That feels actually quite premium. And a lot of the other buttons have been upgraded from some of the other recent Fords I've been in, over the last 2, 3, 4 years or something like that. So I think there is an effort by Ford to upgrade their interiors, their buttons, the fit and finish, the feel inside these vehicles. And I think it matches the price point to where it's actually visually and quite appealing to the touch the more you feel around the interior and use it on a daily basis. So I genuinely like Ford's effort, and I like this interior compared to some of the Fords of the past, like I said, couple years that I have been in and experienced. So I think that is kind of where I'm going to leave this driving review here on the 2025 Ford Explorer ST. Great power, good interior. I like the updates to the design, the touchscreen, the technology, the BlueCruise interior dash or center console layout. It's all there for the money. I think some of the bigger disappointments are the current version of BlueCruise that this vehicle supports and the fuel economy that I have experienced. Granted, I know it's not known for its fuel economy. It's not a hybrid vehicle. The only fuel saving measure it has is engine stop start, which is fairly smooth but can be a little bit rough at times. But seeing 16, 17, 18 mpg isn't that appealing for the average person. But I have to admit, just on my drive doing this review for you guys, I have seen like 4 or 5 Explorer STs driving by in the opposite direction or just on the roadways in front of me. So it is kind of comical to see how many of these have sold, because they're quite popular. For the growing family that has 2 kids or something, that has a pet, needs to haul things around, the Explorer just in general as a platform is a popular choice. And I now see why maybe the ST version in specific is a little bit more popular, or one of the more popular trim levels within their lineup. But I think the updates that they did are all positive. I really don't have a lot to complain about. Just some Ford things here and there that I wish they would tweak. Like I said, the stalks here on the side for the wipers and things like that. But those are all fairly minor complaints. And if they can dial in the BlueCruise and add some of those additional functionality and features of 1.5 with an over-the-air software update, I think this would be a much more well-rounded vehicle. And yeah, overall, you guys left to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And I want to give a huge thanks to Ford for sending this vehicle out for me to test and review for the last week. Let me know if you agree, disagree, want to add any additional notes, features, comments on this vehicle or platform. Do you own a Explorer ST, and now how has your ownership experience been? Leave all that down in the comment section below. Like I said, huge thanks to Ford for sending this vehicle out, and of course you guys for watching and supporting the channel. If you guys enjoyed this video and or found something helpful, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, hope to see you guys in the next one.